Have you ever felt like at the end of the day, you're the only person you can really rely on? You know, that feeling that you have to handle everything yourself, almost like you've built this invisible fortress around you? Well, if that sounds familiar, you've come to the right place. We're going to talk about a really human experience that so many of us share but rarely have a name for.
Wow, just take a second and let that one sink in. For a lot of people, that quote isn't just a bunch of words, it's their life story. It perfectly captures that deep-seated feeling of hyper-independence, the one that comes from experience. It's that gut feeling that going it alone isn't just easier, it's the only safe bet. And if that's hitting home for you, I want you to know something. What you've built is an incredible survival skill.
So it turns out this powerful way of moving through the world, this instinct to handle it all, it actually has a name. And giving it a name is so important because it helps us understand exactly where this intense independence comes from. Okay, let's really dive into this.
Defensive self-reliance. Now look at the key words here: learned behavior and response. This is so crucial because it's not about just, being an introvert or liking your own company. Nope. This is a protective strategy. It's something your brain created because at some point in your life, you learned that asking for help just didn't work, or maybe it wasn't even safe. So you learned to push your own needs down because having them met felt totally uncertain.
So that begs the question, right? Where does this actually come from? Getting to the why behind this whole thing is really the first step to seeing yourself in a brand new and much more compassionate light. It's all about unpacking the difference between choosing to be independent and feeling like you had no other choice.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Look at the contrast here. On one side, you've got independence as a choice. It's like, hey, I enjoy doing things myself. It comes from a place of autonomy, and asking for help is always on the table. It's an option. But then look at the other side. Independence as a learned necessity. The whole mindset shifts from I enjoy this to I must do this. See the difference? It's born from a need to survive, and suddenly the very idea of asking for help can feel totally impossible or even dangerous.
And that distinction leads us to what is, I think, the most important idea in this entire explainer. It's a total reframing. We so often mistake these really deep-seated behaviors for our personality, like it's just who we are. But what if we looked at it in a completely different way?
Okay, so here's the crucial point. When you see your intense self-reliance as a fixed personality trait, it's so easy to feel broken, right? You tell yourself, this is just who I am, and you feel like something's wrong with you. But when you reframe it as a survival trait, oh man, everything changes. It's no longer who you are, it's what you did to cope. It was a brilliant adaptive strategy that you developed to protect yourself. And that simple shift, it just opens the door to so much self-compassion.
And that's the real question, isn't it? I mean, it's one thing to understand a concept in your head, but it's a whole other thing to see how that understanding can fundamentally change your relationship with yourself and maybe even with other people. So let's talk about why this matters so much.
Getting this new perspective is incredibly powerful because it allows you to start seeing that fortress you built, not as a prison, but as a foundation. It's about turning something that you built out of necessity into a source of strength for a new way of being, one that can include connection without you ever having to sacrifice your safety. So let's just quickly recap the big takeaways here. First, and please hear this, your self-reliance is not a character flaw. It is a testament to your incredible resilience. Second, remember that it was a tool, a necessary tool that you developed to navigate your world. Third, and this is a big one, just understanding where it came from is the very first step toward learning new ways of connecting with people. And finally, all of this gives you permission to replace that harsh inner critic with a voice of real compassion for everything you've been through.
And I just want to leave you with this final thought. The strength that it took to build that fortress, that's immense. It kept you safe when you needed it. So the goal now isn't to become defenseless by tearing it all down. Not at all. It's about recognizing your own power and, maybe, when you feel ready, learning how to build a door to let others in, but on your own terms.